and people that were before us. This tournament has grown into one of the largest female celebrations in Western Canada. It brings together athletes, families, volunteers, and supporters from across this province and beyond. To begin our presentation segment, we're honored to hear from someone who was part of those very early days. When I first read the script that was given to me, I thought, Kelsey, and they had misspelt the last name. And I said, oh, the only Kelsey I know is Kelsey Felsky. And then I started connecting and said, oh, the spelling was wrong. It is Kelsey Felsky, who got married. Probably a long time ago, because remember, I'm elderly, I'm not old. So I would please join me in welcoming, not Kelsey, Kelty Durrett, one of our first official Foxes to play under Luke 25 years ago, and who will be joined by two friends who would like to share about their journey. Kelty?
Good? Can everybody hear us? Is it good? Yes, awesome. Okay, good. Okay, what a night. It is amazing to see everybody out here tonight. At first we thought it was just going to be a small gathering, and then we walked in here, we're like, okay, this is a big one. It's amazing to see all the girls out here. I think 25 years ago, there was just 12 of us, 10 or 12 of us, so it's amazing to see. So, good evening, everyone. It's such an honor to be here tonight, celebrating 25 years of the Foxes. A team that for many of us has meant so much more than just hockey. I'm proud to stand here with some of my original teammates. Tonight, we have our star forwards, Jessica Hewitt, Shawnee Johnson, Ashley Lazitza, and Amber Fulmer. Our unstoppable defense for the evening are Amber Matlock and Megan Nemish. And rounding out that lineup, myself, Kelty Durrett, the 6-foot tender. Together, we were incredibly fortunate to be part of this first female Foxes team in our community.
When we first stepped onto the ice as young girls, there was no all-female teams. Many of us played the boys' teams, which mean changing in the restroom, while the boys dominated the locker rooms. We were always on the outside looking in, dreaming of a place where we could play the game we loved, together on our own team. That dream became a reality when the Prince Albert Northern Foxes were formed. We were 10 or 11, full of fire, and thrown into the boys' leagues. The look on those boys' faces when we started skating circles around them, absolutely priceless. Or as I may say now in TikTok speak, we'll cook them. Jess flew like a jet, Shawnee, Amber, Ashley, and myself battled relentless. Amber M's slap shot made everyone scatter from the crease, and our brick wall in the pipes, Kelty.
Looking back, it's clear we didn't get here by just skating by. We earned every moment. We skated faster, played harder, and shut teams out, creating a buzz throughout the hockey community. The boys, and yes, even the parents, were shook, and will always smile remembering how good it felt to prove everyone wrong. We wore our Foxes gear with pride. Yes, they kept it 25 years later. The Russell hoodies with girls hockey in the largest font we could get. Girls spelled G-U-R-L-S because we knew how to start a trend before TikTok could. And of course, our provincial title was proudly sewn on the front pocket.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
It is there.
We also had matching red sweatpants. Yeah. But beyond the victories, what we didn't fully understand at the time was the legacy that we were starting. It wasn't just about being great hockey players. It was about building something bigger. Being a Fox taught us resilience, confidence, and leadership. It gave us friendships that have lasted decades. It taught us how to be teammates and believe in ourselves. Lessons that have carried far beyond the rink. And most importantly, it gave us the self-confidence and pride that so many young girls are still learning to find today. Our wish is that this sport and this team can do the same for all of you young ladies out here tonight, because you all deserve it.
As kids on the ice, we had no idea what was behind the scenes. We just showed up and played. Looking back, we see our dads on the bench, beaming as their girls showed everyone how it's done, and our moms cheering loud so we can hear them through the glass, running out with cameras. As you can see, my mom took most of those pictures up there on the board. And with huge smiles, and always had snacks, which always consisted the ice cream pails full of oranges. Hockey parents, you sacrifice so much to let your child do what she loves. From coaching, managing, scheduling, and to travel to tournaments, fundraising, and supporting, you're all our first believers. You've given up weekends, late nights, and probably a few years of your life driving from rink to rink in Saskatchewan weather, white-knuckled on the road, muttering, "We'll get you there in time." You never stopped believing in us, and pushed us to realize we are capable of far more and that we gave ourselves credit for.
As a mom of 3 and a teacher, I now see the dedication, the sacrifice and joy it takes to support young athletes. Watching my children grow in confidence on the ice has truly filled my heart. Seeing my daughter skate for the first time was pure joy. With her 2-year-old giggles as she chased her brothers on the ice, I couldn't help but dream that maybe one day she might be a goalie like her mom, or find her own edge as a Fox. To the past parents and those here tonight, we see you. Cheering at the top of your lungs, sneaking a dance to Pink Pony Club between whistles, packing enough snacks to feed an army, and somehow making it to every game on time. You're the unsung heroes of hockey. Giving your daughters the same chance that we had in shaping the next generation of confident, resilient, and fearless women. I was going to say, everyone, you need to cherish these long car rides, the hotel stays that feel like an absolute circus, and the weekends at the rink that usually for us were colder than a hockey mom's coffee and her patience in triple overtime. Parents, know this: if your child ever wonders how they will remember these years, one day they will stand where we are standing, looking back with pride, gratitude, and joy. You are shaping not just athletes, but empowered young women who will carry this legacy forward.
We also want to thank Luke Robin for his vision and dedication to female hockey, giving us a place to play, to grow as leaders, to build lifetime friendships, and to belong. Thank you, Jim Flynn, for continuing this legacy, and to the board and Taryn for inviting us to celebrate tonight. Because of you, our girls aren't just playing hockey, they are part of a thriving program that builds confidence, friendship, and hard work.
I see the Fox's legacy in our next generation too. There's nothing better than seeing my students like Avery Woods and my nieces Bree Petrar and Pepper Englehart proudly in their Fox's gear, sharing how much they love this team. Watching you carry this tradition forward fills me with pride and awe. To the young female hockey players out in the crowd tonight, you are carrying the Foxes' legacy forward every time you step onto the ice. You represent all the battles fought to create space for girls in hockey, the ice times that had to be earned, the teams that had to be built, and the recognition that had to be fought for. You embody resilience, courage, and the belief that you belong on the ice just as much as anybody else.
Together, as the past and present Foxes now, we are the girls in the dressing room.
We are the teammates pushing each other to be better.
We are the scorers, the goalies, the ones dangling through those defenders and ripping slap shots.
We are the coaches, the mentors, and the role models.
We are the generation that turns opportunity into legacy, and every girl following in our skates will know they belong from the very start.
All of you are still changing the game. We are female. The limits you push, the barriers you break, and the laughter you share go beyond anything we could have dreamed of. So, let's cheers to 25 years of the Foxes. The future of girls hockey is right here, and it's rocking Foxes gear.
We will now end it in one of our favorite chants that we did as Foxes. Are you ready?
Shoot, pass, kick some ass, all around the plexiglass. Go Foxes!
Thank you, Kelty, Ashley, and Amber. It's so wonderful to hear about what it takes. So, our next speaker offers a deeply personal perspective on the early days of female hockey, one shaped by family values and firsthand experience. Please join me in welcoming Rochelle Robin, Luke Robin's daughter, who will share a few words about her dad and what the early years of hockey looked like before the female programs truly existed.
Fine, Matthew, thank you. My brother thought I'd be too short up here because those other ladies are much taller, but I'm okay. My name's Rochelle Robin, and Luke's my father. When Taryn called me to find some background information about the early days, I have to admit, I stopped in my tracks to hear that the tournament was 25. That's made me feel really old. When I started, there was just 6 teams in the first tournament. Now Luke said today there was 74. What began with a handful of girls is now hundreds in the program. It's incredible to see how far things have come. Now, I wasn't very old when things began, so I apologize in advance for the broad strokes of the story. But what I do know for certain is that Luke was there at the tournament's very beginning and league. And somewhere along the way, Jim joined him, and together the league grew into what it was today. When I asked my parents if I could switch from dance, which is what my sister was doing, to play hockey like my brothers, they signed me up. At the time, this was pre-Foxes. Teams in PA were still community-based. I remember how excited I was when the only other girl in East Hill and I finally reached the same age bracket and we could play together. Both Jim and Luke were heavily involved in the East Hill Carlton Park community clubs. As I got older, more girls were playing with the boys in the city, and Luke decided that we should have one team. This is pre-Foxes, so we were playing under different rules. He had pulled players from surrounding communities, and we became the only girls team in the boys league. I remember the season when we improved enough, much like the Foxes did, where we were beating the boys, and that ruffled some feathers. The success came from some very skilled players and a very dedicated coaching staff. Coaching is something Luke is deeply passionate about, and that's something him and Jim share. They've been coaching together for so long that we joke that they're each other's hockey wives. When the season starts, we know that Luke and Jim will be talking almost daily. Their wives know they will not see them. They have impacted so many players over the years through coaching, and they continue to coach well beyond the years of their respective children that were playing. Luke has always believed that anyone who wanted to play should play, that they can be taught the game he loves. As the girls' program grew, many players were brand new to hockey, and often brand new to skating. Luke never set a player for being a weak skater. He believed that skating could be taught, and it should never be the reason someone doesn't get to play. Luke can teach anyone to skate. And Jim, I like to say he can teach anyone to skate backwards, because he taught me. And I like to say I'm the best backwards skater in our family. Don't say anything, Matthew. Luke found the best way to build confidence in new players was to pair them with more experienced ones, to open up the ice and balance the lines. We used to call it Johnny on the spot. You guys may have a similar play, where we would send the new skater just straight off when the puck dropped, and we'd have the more veteran players pass them the puck, they'd shoot, and luck would have it, it would go in, and cheering would ensue, and that would build their confidence. He placed a huge importance on practice and drills and building fundamentals, where we would skate and skate and skate. And he further believed that transportation and cost should never stop a girl from playing. I remember piling what felt like half the team into the old Suburban, along with the equipment for road games. After every game, though, he'd want to talk about what went wrong and what we could improve. True coaching through and through. Even if it was just me in the car, it would be a long car ride home if we lost. As the seasons went on, questions arose about whether girls should continue playing in boys' leagues, where contact was allowed. There was a push for no contact leagues, which is funny because for those of you who play, no, girls don't know the meaning of no contact. And we had some players who were quite tall, who couldn't really skate, so they had contact all the time, sometimes with the boards, as Luke would say, it's okay to use them to stop. So as seasons passed, there were more and more players and more teams forming. There were soon enough talented players to form the AA's and the AAA leagues. Female hockey grew, and what started with a few girls in the city became the North Saskatchewan Female Hockey League. Teams' names changed too. So originally we started out as the Canadians from East Hill, and then we were the Grey Cab Cruisers when we finally had our own team, to the Panthers, to the Foxes and the Bears, and a few more in between. The tournament, as I remember it, started because there simply weren't enough tournaments for us to play in. Saskatoon was one of the few places hosting. Luke felt there needed to be more opportunities, so he decided to create one himself. The tournament still guarantees every team has at least 3 games, because Luke always says, no team should travel for anything less. Luke still does all the draws by hand. Yes, by hand. Despite the existence of computer programs that could do it for him. His chicken scratch drafts would then be typed up by my mother, Beverly, and I understand now that Taryn has been helping, and she can attest, Luke's writing is terrible. So for over 20 years, it was my mom typing up those schedules. If a team dropped out or was added late, Luke would just reschedule. He would ring to the entire division if necessary, even the day before. That part drove my mother crazy. Designing a tournament for a handful of teams in one rink is one thing, but Luke has been doing it for multiple divisions across multiple rinks, all in the same weekend. Just today he told me he could have added a few more teams because he had a bit more ice. He could have squeezed at least 2 more teams in, he said. My whole family knows that during the tournament time, the only way we get to see Luke is to go to the rink. He can be found with Jim in the war room, which was that little room between Kinsman, in the Kinsman Arena, between dressing room 1 and 2, if those of you remember. But I've been told that Taryn has moved the war room to the new Lake County Co-op Leisure Center. It took some resistance, but now they're going it, and I understand it doesn't have the old cork boards that you're used to, so Luke created his own cork board system so he could have his old school papers, like always. So the tournament, it's nice to know, still runs the same way Luke's always run it. Paper. Luke takes enormous pride in this tournament and pours so much into himself to making sure it runs smoothly. And I know Jim and the tournament committee feel the same way. The tournament has been successful all these years because of the coaches, parents, and sponsors who have built the space where girls can play hockey and make memories to last a lifetime. Tonight is a celebration of every girl who laced up her skates, every parent who drove the miles, and every coach who believed. I'm incredibly honored that my father was one of the first. Thank you all for being part of this legacy and for continuing the vision that began 25 years ago that Luke had. Thank you.
Thank you, Rochelle. Hockey is described as family, and it's moments like this and moments like what you've shared that remind us why. Tonight we want to recognize someone who has given so much to the growth and development of female hockey and who continues to inspire this community through strength and resilience. I'd like to invite Taryn Svensson to come forward for a special presentation. Taryn.
Thank you, Dawn. Michelle, I just have to add that the reason they were really stressed about going to the new rink is because there's glass windows and they can't hide their arguments now. It's going to be, they have to behave themselves over there. So I just wanted to say, for those that don't know me, my name is Taryn Svensson, and I've sat on the female board with Luke and Jim, I think, for the last 3 or 4 years. But I started back probably about 15 years ago. Hockey, as many people know, becomes like family. In many ways, you often grow closer with your hockey family than your own family. There's just a unity that within the hockey community that's hard to explain to anyone who hasn't lived it. My own family, my sister, just doesn't get how we could want to be at a rink 3 or 4 times a week. So there is so many people that are in this room tonight that we personally invited and wanted to make sure that you were a part of this because you were either a volunteer, a coach, a manager, or somebody that's contributed in a lot of meaningful ways. So I thank you all that were able to come tonight. I was hoping to feed you all, but we'll get there. Hopefully it's coming soon. Over the years, hockey brings us a lot of joy. We all know that. There are moments when people are, though, quietly fighting their own battles. But just like any hockey team does, we rally together around one another when sports need it. So tonight, we just wanted to recognize this individual. As I said, we couldn't possibly recognize everybody that's contributed in the last 25 years, but this person has been involved for roughly the last 15 years or so, and he was actually somebody that invited me to the committee to help him with the program and sponsorships and growing the program in general. So Darren Fiddler has played many roles through his daughter's hockey career, and he's always showing up as a supporter, advocate, and a believer in female hockey. Today, Darren and his family are facing a very real and courageous battle, and one that affects far too many of us. So Darren, we'd like to invite you forward to come and accept a small token of appreciation to thank you for your years of service and dedication, and just to let you know that your Fox's family, we're here to support you. All of our girls, Darren is having a battle with cancer, as we are all aware, and so all our girls proudly support him with the DD Fids logo. Colleen and Jeff McCrae had that done for him, and all the Foxes now wear those in support on our helmets. So from the entire Foxes community, Darren, thank you for your lasting impact you've made on female hockey, and we all stand with you and your family. So this was just a little, we snuck on their Facebook page and pulled off some team memories and some kids' memories and the logo that Colleen and Jeff had done up. There you go. It's beautiful.
Yeah, thank you very much. I didn't know any of this about 20 minutes ago, so this is going to be short and sweet. But as Taryn said, one of the things about this is the Foxes' relationships and families that you do over the last 15 years, and it's really shown this last little bit here for me and my family and that. And I, just for us this year, again, it's surreal that to be honored, I guess, or in a way, from all the Foxes, I still don't know what to say about that. So I don't want to make this too much about me. So when Taryn kind of said this, I thought, well, there's something that's been on my mind through my treatments and everything else, because I know the 07 group of that. But right now we have, I believe, just another way to look at the growth in there is, so I put something quickly together here that I think it's pretty amazing too, is we have roughly 12 former Foxes or PA hockey females that are coaching now, and that are either assistant coaches or something like that. And to have that, the next mentor step, most of them are, they don't have any children, because not like the old days where you became a coach because you were a dad and you just went on the ice. These are girls that want to be there, but they're highly intelligent females too, that know the game and played it at a high level too. So that's just going to bring more to our development as well. So again, I just want to acknowledge some of them so I understand, and if I miss somebody, I apologize. But we have Arlie Schmaltz, who's helping the U11B Foxes. We have Sienna Spence and Katie McCrae helping out with the assistant coaches, the U13 Foxes. The U13 AA Foxes, we have Ali Sueco, Jordan Fiddler, Morgan Willoughby. U15 AA, Alexis Worrell, Caitlin Richmond. Exactly. U18A Foxes, Tegan Horn. And then U18 AA Foxes, Brooklyn Gamard, and Brandy, I'm going to bugger up her name. What's her last? Rose in something, so I apologize for it. Anyways, I think that's very important, again, how we're growing and moving forward and developing in that, because I think it gives the females now a perspective, a mentor and all that. So again, it's great to see, and thank you for everything, guys.
Thank you so much, Darren, and thank you for the words and a reminder about that's how it grows, is because of all of the people like you who are, who are willing to give. So thank you very much. Over the past 25 years, 2 individuals have remained constant, showing up year after year after year, leading with integrity and believing in female hockey when it mattered most. At this time, we'd like to invite everyone's attention to the screens for a tribute honoring Luke Robin and Jim Flynn from the Foxes.
What's your name? How old are you? And what team do you play for?
Eve, 8, the Foxes. I play for Foxes. My name is Aaliyah and I'm 8. My name is Ruby. I played for the Foxes 2 years. I'm Pepper. I'm 9 and I'm on the Foxes.
My name is Berkeley Bell. I played with the Foxes for 6 years, and I'm in U15 AA. My name's Harper Hamilton. I've been playing with the Foxes for 1 year. My name's Avery Anderson. I've been playing on the Foxes for 6 years. I'm Emma Svensson. I've played for the Foxes for about 10 years, and I'm in U18A.
I'm Mackenzie Boyer. I've played with the Foxes for about 4 years, and I'm in U18A. I'm Emmy Letting. I've played with the Foxes for 3 years, and I'm in U18A. My name is Marty Burkalo. I've been playing with the Foxes for 5 years, and I play U18AA.
Why do you like playing hockey?
I don't know. Good fun. Because it's fun. Teaches me to be a good teammate.
What does playing hockey mean to you?
Playing hockey means the world to me. It means getting to play with a bunch of amazing people, getting to meet new people, and doing the sport that I love. It means to be a leader and just work hard and improve.
What does it mean to you to be a Fox?
It means knowing that I'll always have like a community and just people to go to. Getting to be a Fox means a lot to me because I get to make new friends and make new memories and get to have the same coaches throughout my hockey. It means to be a good leader and represent the symbol on my jersey.
What has playing hockey with the Foxes taught you?
To work hard. To be strong. To play hard. I can be a goalie.
When you look back, what's a Foxes moment you'll always remember?
Won a pretty big tournament at like A finals. It was pretty cool. I'd say the most notable thing for me is coming from a boys team and being co-ed and not having relationships that are so tightly bonded as with this team. And I'm really happy to have such a close connection with all the girls and all the coaches with the Foxes.
Scoring goals. Winning our first game.
Winning our first game.
If you could say one thing to your younger self when you first joined the Foxes, what would it be?
To never give up and to always keep pushing. Don't be too hard on yourself. It's really just a game, and it does teach you a lot of things in your personal life and social life. So just have fun. Stay optimistic. Keep your head up even after a tough loss. And worry about like developing friendships and learning lessons more so than your actual playing, because that will help you more out in the long run. Don't be too hard on yourself. Just have fun. It's all about fun in the end.
What do you like most about being a Fox?
That we have good coaches. You can get new friends. The duties.
How has the Foxes program shaped you as a player and as an individual?
I think back to my first year as a Fox all the time, and my coach and my team really encouraged me to be confident on the ice and in the locker room, and that really helped shape me as a person. Shaped me by meeting all new people and getting coached by different coaches all the way up, and just getting to experience the community.
What are you most proud of when you watch these players on the ice?
All the girls always give it their all every practice, every game. Their hard work and determination doesn't go unnoticed.
Hi, my name is Tyler Svensson. Today we are sitting down with two people who helped shape female hockey in our community for the past 25 years. This interview isn't just about a tournament, it's about commitment, belief, and the people who choose to show up year after year. Luke and Jim, thank you for giving us the chance to hear your story. When you look at the tournament today, what makes you most proud?
Well, it's just the number of teams, the caliber of people, if they haven't gone to watch a female hockey team or a game or whatever, will be very surprised at the caliber of hockey. These girls can skate, they can shoot, they can play the game just like the boys. And sometimes it can be a little bit more rougher than the boys, and they know how to angle and all that. So to be able to put on this magnitude of a tournament, and it's without saying that is the community people behind it, all the people that are involved. I mean, it takes a lot of people to make something happen, and in the end, it always has been. It's for the athletes and to showcase our city and our association.
Okay, and what has surprised you the most about the impact?
I think it was the good organization of finding lots of volunteers. That's the big thing. Without volunteers, we wouldn't be able to put on this kind of tournament. But we do need those kind of people, and it's been nice to be able to see them every year. We always seem to get some good volunteers stepping up and helping out.
How would you describe the partnership required to steward this together?
I think the big one there would be that we have a common goal of developing female hockey is the big thing, and doing that kind of stuff.
There's a long-standing joke that people thought you were a couple because you coached side by side for so long. With you, what did that partnership really look like?
I know a lot of some people thought that our wives were rarely seen. They were behind the scene. People thought maybe we were an old couple sort of thing. It was an ongoing where without the wives supporting us, we wouldn't have been successful as we were.
Absolutely. Luke and Jim, if you had one message to leave for future players and volunteers, what would it be?
Everyone has a role in making the tournament a success, and just to remember that there's no individualism in this. It's all one big organization, and one to make everything. Everybody has to work together.
Teamwork. It takes team. Hockey is a team sport, and these tournaments are basically a team. So, and then like to say, you'll never regret because whatever you do, whatever you can do for somebody else is always going to come back to you. Is what I said. So.
Luke and Jim, thank you for everything you've given to this tournament and female hockey not only in Prince Albert, but also to the province of Saskatchewan. Your time and commitment and belief have made a long-lasting difference, and I will never be forgotten.
How important are Luke and Jim to making this program what it is today?
Luke and Jim have been around as long as I can remember, and they're always willing to step up at the rink, make sure there is ice time available for the females, which is really important as lots of communities don't have that opportunity, and they are always making sure that the female athletes in Prince Albert get equal play time, if not more play time than some of the guys.
Luke and Jim, I just wanted to take a few minutes to say a sincere thank you. Your leadership and your mentorship over the years have taught me so much about what's really important when it comes to the game. I take everything that you have taught me today and teach it to my families and lead in the example that you showed me. I can't thank you enough for everything you did for the female program. Your influence has meant more to me than you'll probably ever know. So I just wanted to extend a sincere happy 25th anniversary.
Thank you, Luke and Jim. Thank you, Luke and Jim. Thank you, Luke and Jim. Thank you, Luke and Jim.
Thank you, Luke and Jim.
Thank you, Luke and Jim.
Now I'd like to invite Taryn Swenson and Ashley Lieb back to the stage for a special presentation.
So thank you to Kelson, who put that video together for us. That was great. I've been kind of going through trying to work with him a little bit on include this or include that, and there's lots of footage. So if your girl didn't make it in there, please know that we do have a plan to do some more promotional videos for female hockey, and he will be filming the ones that he missed throughout the tournament and interviewing a couple of those girls for the couple of teams that he had missed. Hi. Okay, I think I left my speech down there. I left my speech on the Yeah, John, could you bring that to me? I think Okay, so I wanted to start by talking about something that I don't think gets talked about enough, volunteering. Female hockey, and really hockey in general, they just doesn't exist without volunteers. You need parents, coaches, managers, jersey rushers, okay, hotel planners, bus planners. Every volunteer plays a role and makes a significant contribution to a great team and a great program. If people didn't continue to give their time, their energy, and their hearts, not just to hockey, but to other community organizations, programs like ours and events like tonight wouldn't exist. My ask tonight, especially to you young parents out there and you young athletes, is to remember how important volunteering is and to step forward when you're able. Darren spoke about how nice it is to see these younger girls that are graduating players, recent graduating players, out assisting coaching. It's something we've talked about, we've pushed a little bit in the last year, and I think we've had the most ever. So that volunteering is important. So to put on an event like tonight, you need a team. And this year, when Ashley and I first shared our vision with Jim and Luke about the level of celebration that we'd hoped to create and what we wanted to do, they both gave us that look and kind of shook their heads because they just saw dollar signs and how are you going to do that? How are you going to do that? But to be fair, that's just who Jim and Luke are. They're incredibly modest and they don't need fancy and they don't do things for recognition. They do them because they're passionate about them. But for once, Ashley and I, we politely ignored their advice and said, yeah, don't worry about it, we'll handle it, guys. So then we recruited these 10 amazing women at the beginning in about March. We sat down and thought, well, we're gonna have to raise a bunch of money, gather a big crew, and make this happen. So tonight I'd like to recognize quickly just those 10 committee members. I think and Darren actually was one of those that started with us, Darren Fiddler, on the committee until he couldn't and he had to step down. He was one of our men. We weren't recruiting women. It was men too. But we had Ashley, of course, she's my female MacGyver and my planning partner in crime, figures out any problem that we can't resolve, because we got Luke, who's the male MacGyver, and we got a female right here. Carrie McCosham brought Carrie on to help in the banquet planning with Danielle and the catering. Danielle Lucas was also part of getting Jennifer here tonight. She was in charge of getting us the best guest speaker. Ronnie Hulowski was in charge of our merchandise and contacting restaurants. Stacey Ruskowski was responsible to fill up that LC1. We were told we can have 10 vendors there and we wanted to have everybody have a great experience, and she pushed and we got 12. I think we fit 12 in there. Now we're at 12. And Tanya Lemieux, who's not present this evening, she was supported and leaded our sponsorship. But those ladies, I called them my Make It Happen crew, because you had a bunch of very, I don't know what the word Tanner used was, but it was like you get all this powerful female energy in a room and it's pretty intense, but those powerful women get stuff done. So I would like to also recognize, since about November, December, we also always have to get 2 or 3 volunteers from every age group to come and run their rink and donate their time and do fundraising. And we had a great group of women. I think there was 22 of us in total on this committee this year that had a part in making all this happen. For my Make It Happen crew, do you want to just maybe hold one of those up? I just have a little thank you for sticking with you from the beginning. This is from Jim, Luke, and I. Ashley, it says Fox's Tournament, the Make It Happen crew. So, well, because of timing, I'll get those to you guys after. So, my final thank you is obviously going to go out to Luke and Jim. Luke is unfortunately able to be with us this evening, so I will be calling for his son Matt to accept this shortly. Over the years, we've worked together on many committees, actually, and just like a hockey family, we've grown pretty close. And you become like second dads to me. We fight, and we love, and we get stuff done. But I've had the privilege of getting to know you and your wonderful wives and your families. But even more importantly, you've been mentors to me. And like I said briefly in the video, you have taught me and so many others in this room the bigger picture of what's important, what it truly means to be a team, to show up, to lead with integrity, and to stay involved for the right reasons. If Luke and Jim had stepped away when their daughters or their sons finished playing, this program simply would not be what it is today. So because you stayed, because you believed, and you kept showing up, here we are. So we got, maybe we'll just call up Matt and Jim to accept a little gift that we had done up for you, to say happy 25th anniversary to you.
can't play mini sticks with them. Okay, yes, stand.
So, well, on behalf of Luke and myself, and we'd just like to take a moment to say thank you. Thank you to the tournament committee. This is amount of time planning and caring that went into tonight and into the entire tournament. It is incredible. A lot of work happens behind the scenes and it doesn't go unnoticed. We truly appreciate everything you've done to make this 25th anniversary so special. I also want to thank the coaches, your commitment to developing the female hockey, to supporting these athletes, and to preparing your teams year after year is what keeps this program strong. What you do matters, and it is a difference far beyond the rink. And for the female athletes out there, thank you. Thank you for your dedication, your hard work, and for showing up every day with passion and commitment. You are the reason this tournament exists, and seeing what you've become over the years makes all of this worthwhile. Luke and I also want to say thank you for this incredibly kind messages and words shared with us tonight. These truly mean more than you know. And to the volunteers, families, and supporters, thank you for coming to believing in female hockey and for showing up this year after year. Luke and I are incredibly grateful to be part of this program and community, and we're proud of what we've built together over this last 25 years. Thank you very much. So just before we go up there, we'd like to ask my wife Susan, and it was going to be Rochelle, but she said Nat's going to be here, so he's going to accept for Luke's wife. And we're going to thank our wives for being supporters for us all these years with coaching and running the tournament, because they don't see much of our time once winter hits, and the way it goes from there. Carrie's sleeping. No. Not making a speech? Okay. The other two that we want to thank for all their help with the tournament is Taryn and Ashley. If they would come forward. They, like Ashley or Karen said, we had our fights back and forth on different things, but we all seem to be able to resolve it and work it out. So, thanks, ladies.
Maybe over here.
Get your hockey stick.
Okay, I'll take one.
Thank you. So we've just got before we move on, we've just got a couple of quick housekeeping notes. The raffle winning tickets are at the back of the room. Remember to check with Bethany. And we also have more guests coming just to be here at the be here for Jennifer speaking. So there are a few more. If you have room at your table, just put up your hand, and if the people that just come on in and join a table, if you wouldn't mind. So we'll just let you have a few minutes to find some empty seats, a couple minutes, and we will move on. And before we say goodbye, when you do leave, at the very end, if you wouldn't mind clearing off your tables and throwing the plates that are on your table into the garbage. So if you have room, there are also chairs at the back. You can just grab some other chairs and scooch around so that we can make sure that everyone has a seat. We're going to take about a 3 to 5 minute break here, about a 5-minute break. But please just make sure and scoot some chairs and find a spot to sit. I'll give you 5 minutes. There's lots of chairs. There's a few prizes that have not been claimed, so make sure and check your tickets at the back with Bethany. Just feel free to find an empty chair, and there's some chairs at the very back. You can sit back there. There's still quite a few chairs in the middle, too, if you're looking. There's a couple tables open here. There are quite a few chairs in the middle. Feel free to come forward and have a seat. I'll give you 1 more minute and then we'll get going. Well, Foxes and Fox family, tonight is a really special night. Tonight is all about community. Tonight is all about celebration. Tonight is all about recognizing everything that you all do. And here we are at the moment that we have our guest speaker. We're celebrating 25 years of female hockey in our community. 25 years of dedication, progress, resilience, and opportunity for girls and young women to dream bigger every time they step on the ice. To help us mark this milestone, they couldn't have selected a better, more fitting guest speaker. Jennifer Botterill is one of the most accomplished and respected figures in the history of women's hockey. She's a 3-time Olympic gold medalist, a 5-time world champion, newly inducted in November as a player in the Hockey Hall of Fame. She's highly sought after as a hockey analyst. We all see her on TV. She's a Harvard graduate. She's a CEO of her own company. And she's a mom of 3. And she took time out of her schedule to come talk to us. It always reminds me of a really important saying, is that someone, you can't be it if you don't see it. And Jennifer has allowed many of us in this room, and all of us in this room, to see it, to see the dream. So please join me in welcoming our guest speaker, our champion, our role model, and the advocate for the game that we love, Jennifer Botterill.
Thank you. Oh, very, very nice. I appreciate that. Just gonna put this over here. That's okay. It's great. It's great. Thank you for the nice introduction. It's an honor for me to be here with all of you as you celebrate your association, your program, and congratulations to all of the athletes that are here today. I thank you for your dedication to your team, and it's great to soak in all of the energy. And I put together a little clip to give you guys a little bit of a background. So I used to play for Team Canada, and I've now moved on to broadcasting. But to give you a sense of what I've been up to lately, here's a little introduction that I thought you might enjoy. Thanks, Barry. It's okay, we're just gonna build up the anticipation for one quick moment. Yes.
Botterill scores! Jennifer Botterill just made it look easy.
You know you're down 1, but it's those type of decisions, those moments that can shift the momentum for you. One of the skills that we've seen from Nylander all season long is his ability to combine speed with incredible puck control. For there to be this unwritten code that something else with violence has to happen to solve the issue, I think is awful. Congratulations on your incredible play so far. 24 of those goals have been scored within 10 feet of the net. You lead the NHL in that category. Wonderful to see you, and enjoy this exciting phase in your life as an athlete and as a person. Thanks for joining us today. Merci. It was all timing through the neutral zone, through the offensive zone, and then you set your base, and that gives you the most options as a puck carrier. Should I do it? My time, he sets the wide base, comes through. Oh All right, great. Thanks, Barry. Okay, so we're all about pushing our limits, right? So that was a first for me, in a long flowing red dress and high heels, and attempting it between the legs, top shelf, over the corner of Henrik Lundqvist, Hockey Hall of Famer. So he thought it went a little too close by his ear, but we have a great time in this studio, both in the United States and in Canada. When I was playing hockey for the national team, when we were off to the World Championships or the Olympic Games, we would often be asked the question on how we dealt with pressure or the expectation. And for those of you that follow women's hockey in our country, when Team Canada is off to the Olympic Games or the World Championship, what is the medal that you like the team to bring back to Canada? Gold, that is the only expectation. So people would ask, how do you deal with all of that pressure? And for us, we can always make a choice in every single situation. And for our team, instead of feeling this burden on our shoulders that we were carrying, the stress, the pressure, that we have to win a gold medal for the country, we changed our point of view. We shifted our attitude. And instead, we felt as though it is so nice that people in this country care about how we perform, that they want to see us bring back that gold medal to share with the rest of our country. So instead of a burden that was weighing us down, the pressure we have to win, we changed our attitude to feel as though this was an amazing support and that people in this country were supporting us through the days that were tough and demanding and exhausting. And so for us, we felt that support. And so for all of you connected to this incredible hockey association, to feel that support. And I hope all of the players understand how fortunate you are to have that support for every family member, friends, coaches, the board, everybody to help you reach for your dreams. And for me, the importance of communication is hugely valuable. And there was one moment that really shifted my entire path. So if you can imagine yourself at the age of 15 years old. So I had been playing hockey in Winnipeg, Manitoba, and I went out for lunch with my parents one day. So for all of you, you can think of yourself at the age of 15, and you go out for lunch, and your parents ask you, they said, well, what's your ultimate dream? What's your ultimate goal? And so you had been a kid that had watched the Olympics on television, and you'd started playing hockey, and it had quickly become your favorite sport. So your parents were sort of patiently waiting for an answer to this question. You thought it was a pretty loaded question on what your ultimate dream was, and you're excited about a chicken sandwich for lunch. But they wanted an answer to that question. And so after a bit of reflection, you look across the table at your parents, and you tell them that your dream, your ultimate goal, you say, is to go to the Olympic Games. You tell them that you would love to play hockey for Team Canada at the Olympics. But your next comment to them was that you don't know if it's possible. And so they look at you across the table that day, and they smile, and they said, well, why not? They said, why not you? If someone in this country can represent that national team at the Olympic Games on the international stage, then why can't it be you? Is what they tell you that day. So, but you're not really convinced by the time that you leave that one lunch and that one conversation. But you start to think about it over the course of the next several weeks. And you decide to think back to one of your coaches. And you had this one theme for the season, and it was the season for the Canada Winter Games. And the whole theme for that season was to never have to say, I wish I would have. That whole idea to not have any regrets. And you think back to that one coach, and you think about that lunch that you had with your parents, and you decide that you are going to pursue this ultimate dream of earning a spot on Team Canada. At this point, are you a long shot to make an Olympic roster a few years later? Absolutely. But you decide that if you pursue this and do everything that you can to reach for this dream, to work your hardest, to be the ultimate teammate, to have no regrets, then you can feel completely proud of yourself. And that's an opportunity every athlete has here, every parent, every coach, at the end of the season to know you've done everything to make this experience as valuable and as meaningful for these amazing young athletes as you possibly can. So back to that situation, you're 15, you decide to pursue this goal. A few years later, you receive a phone call from the Olympic program, and they are going to select 28 athletes to train and prepare for the Olympic Games. And you go to an evaluation camp, and thousands of players go to these camps across the country. And just before you attend your camp, they tell everyone that 20 of the 28 spots for the Olympic training group have already been named. Okay, so that's a touch unfortunate. There are now only 8 spots remaining for thousands of you. But you go to this evaluation camp, and you decide in that environment, Your motivation, your goal is to elevate others. So if you're on the ice, if you're on the bench, if you're in the locker room, you want to make sure that other players are better because you're there. So a few weeks later, you receive a phone call and you are told that you've been selected to be part of this training group of 28 players. So this is very exciting, but this is one step. You know your ultimate goal is to make the final Olympic roster, and that season it was 20 players. And if you can imagine, the Olympic evaluation went on for months, and it was a reminder to focus on the things that you can control. So at any point, any month, any week, and any day, they could call you or your friends and your teammates into the Olympic program office and release you from the program. We had no idea when those decisions would be made. So in that environment, you decide to focus on bringing your personal best, but also that approach of being the ultimate teammate. And in that environment, it's competitive. You're all vying for spots on this roster, but you're playing a team sport. So ultimately, you want to celebrate every person's strengths and to recognize the differences and come together as a team. And so you, in this situation, you make it through the first few releases. And there is now a group of 23 of you that remain within the Olympic program. And 20 will be named to the final roster. So this one morning in December, you and all of your teammates have a set meeting time to go and meet the Olympic coaches, and they are going to let you know if you have made the roster. So you wake up this one morning in December, little case of the butterflies in your stomach, because you know you're about to find out if you are going to be an Olympic athlete. So you sit in a little waiting chair at the Olympic program office, and it feels like quite a while that you're sitting there. And finally, you are told it's your turn to go in and to meet the coaching staff. So you stand up from your chair, and in front of you, there are two huge doors, and there's a sign that says boardroom above it. So you take your deep breath, and you take a few steps forward, and you think you're about to find out if you're going to be an Olympic athlete. So you open these two huge boardroom doors. So you open the doors, false alarm, because there's another set of doors for you to go through. So you're not there yet. And then you take a few more steps forward. And then you open the second set of doors. And at the far end of the room is the coaching staff. And the head coach is in the middle. And she smiles and she holds out her hand and she says, "Congratulations." You're a little emotional. There may have been a few tears that were streaming down your face. And it was all very structured in that moment. And they tell you that you can make one phone call. And you are 18 years old at the time when you are told that you are going to be an Olympic athlete representing Canada. And so the phone call that you make immediately, as soon as you find out, the phone call that you make is to your parents. Because the first moment that you think about when you are told you are going to be an Olympic athlete, the first moment that you think about is that one conversation and that one lunch that you had with your parents at the age of 15 years old. And the advice that you were given that day, why not? Why not you? And so for every person in this room, whatever your role might be, for all of us to constantly set those new standards for ourselves. And sometimes we need to set them just a little bit higher than we initially think possible. Why not have your personal best as a teammate? Why not encourage and communicate with your teammates more than you ever have? Why not reach new levels of success in hockey, in sport, in your community? And so understanding the importance of those moments of communication for parents, for friends, for coaches to understand those little moments of encouragement, of communication. For me, it was the encouragement from my parents to believe in myself that allowed me to have that trust and the confidence to pursue that ultimate goal. So here's a little feature that was done on my dad and I before my 4th Olympic Games. And it talks about how you want to feel with an exciting tournament like this one ahead, or big games that you have, how you can embrace that and how you want to feel. So please enjoy. Thanks, Barry.
Pressure that can seep permeating thoughts and creating self-doubt. Unless, of course, you have the right perspective.
I think sometimes it's a little too common where people take the negative approach and get consumed by expectations or pressure that they create for themselves or others put on them. Fear, stress, anxiety. I do think if you look at it and sort of thrive in that situation and say, well, what can I see all the best parts of this? Then I think all that pressure starts to dissipate.
Few Olympians have the pedigree to deal with pressure quite like Team Canada forward Jennifer Botterill.
Into the middle, Botterill shoots, scores!
Her father, Cal, a sports psychologist, has guided Olympians like Katrina Lemay-Doan, Susan Ock, and Pierre Luders. But his prized pupil has always been his daughter.
She definitely kept an eye on what I was doing and the sports that I was working with and people at the Olympic and national and pro level. And she's a pretty astute kind of learner.
I know he encourages people to have that attitude of wanting to succeed and as opposed to having to do something or having to perform. And I think that's really helped me.
When pressure mounts, the mind becomes clouded. But over the years, Cal has taught Jennifer coping mechanisms.
I think he just helps me remind myself of how I want to feel. I mean, he always finds the right thing to say.
I don't think in her whole life and career I've ever sensed when she's performing or playing that it's getting to her. When you think the game is hopeless, there's always more magic. There's always more magic in Jennifer.
Botterill ties the game!
That magic has propelled Jennifer to a pair of Olympic gold medals. And through it all, she's been buoyed by one of her father's favorite mantras.
Playing with a free mind and an unburdened heart. And for me, I just feel like when I'm at my best, I'm out on the ice and playing, I feel free.
Jennifer has visualized playing for gold on February 25th. But if that opportunity arises, what message will Cal have for his daughter?
Enjoy every moment.
I think he'd say, enjoy the moment, is what I think he'd say. Great, thank you.
And so at that point, the Olympic gold medal, it was the biggest moment in our athletic careers, playing in Canada. And it set a record at that time for women's hockey in terms of millions of people that tuned into the game, 20,000 people in the stands. But I remember being on the bench, and just before they dropped the puck to start the gold medal game, I remember looking over at my teammates. And that moment was very intense. It was very competitive. But I remember seeing on the faces of my teammates this little smile. And it reminded me of when I first started playing the sport in Manitoba. And my parents said as soon as I started playing hockey, they knew that it was something pretty special because every time I hit the ice, the outdoor rink, the practices that we had, they said every time I hit the ice, they could see my smile through the cage because there was that moment of joy. And when I looked over at my teammates before the gold medal game in Vancouver, in Canada, we were focused and competitive, but we had that smile on our faces to say that everything in our lives has prepared us for this moment, that we are ready for this. And so for every game that you play, every time you go to the rink, every time that you go to the class, for these students, for your athletes to think about, you're ready for these moments. This is an organization that prepares you for these moments. And so for our team, that's what allowed us to embrace those moments and to perform at our very, very best. But it's not to say that every day is going to be perfect. And when we think about the choices, I'm a big believer that we recognize we can pursue excellence. The path is never going to be perfect in our lives, in sport, in school, in business, in life. But for us, understanding these ups and downs, but there's always that possibility to pursue excellence in everything that we do. And I know for our team, do you know who are the biggest rivals for Team Canada in women's international hockey? Team USA. So the one time the Olympics were in Salt Lake City, this was many years ago, this was my second Olympic Games. So we would play exhibition games against Team USA. When the Olympics were in Salt Lake City, we played them 8 times. Does anyone remember that season, or does anyone want to take a guess at how many times our national team beat Team USA in 8 games leading up to the Olympics? Any guesses? Every time would have been nice. Unfortunately, I heard the correct answer over here. It would have been nice to have beaten our biggest rivals at least once before the Olympics. But we lost 8 games in a row. And I remember there was a little bit of public concern growing within the country about our performance. The media was coming up and they were asking us, what's wrong with you? And they'd put a microphone in your face. Well, we haven't brought our best yet, but thinking about your attitude and how contagious that is for everybody that you're surrounded by. In our locker room, if one person believed that we could still be successful and win the Olympic gold medal, that's how the person next to them felt and the person next to them. And for some reason, this ended up being a season of challenges for us. But we had to turn those challenges into opportunities, right? To learn, to grow, to evolve, to be better than we had before. If you look at the best players in women's hockey today, whether it's Marie-Philippe Poulin, you look at Natalie Spooner, Laura Stacey, Sarah Fillier, for them it's constant improvement. It's never being satisfied. Marie-Philippe Poulin, when she first made Team Canada at 18 years old, she was one of the most talented, skilled players we'd seen in the game. But every season for her, it's about working hard and dedication and constantly improving. So for our team in that locker room, that contagious feeling and belief, despite external negativity, people questioning our ability to be successful, within our locker room, we still had that belief, and we turned those challenges into opportunities. And I remember right before we went to that gold medal game in the Olympics in Salt Lake City, we were in the Olympic Village, where we had the chance to live with athletes from all across the world, different sports, and we were in one of the Canada buildings. And there were some figure skaters that were there right before we went to the rink. And even though we just lost 8 games in a row, they came over us and said, just before we left for the rink, they said, just know that this is your time. This is your time. So we went to the rink. We were feeling good. We had tunes on in the locker room. They dropped the puck for that gold medal game at the Olympics. And quite a few penalties were called against our team, and not very many penalties were called against Team USA. I may have had a couple of penalties in that game that I didn't agree with, but for us, controlling our response. I remember getting on the ice. We were up by 1 goal in this final game, the gold medal game at the Olympics. And I remember getting on for the last 30 seconds, up by 1 goal, and we chipped the puck into the neutral zone. And the final few seconds ticked off the clock, and the buzzer sounded, and it was the very first time that we ever became Olympic champions. And the moment that we remember was right on the ice. After the buzzer sounded, to give the medals out. They have the medal presentations moments after the game ends. And so I wore number 17 when I played. So I was a little bit further down the line. And one of the best moments for us was that when you could look up and you could look back down that line and you could see your friends and your teammates that were getting those Olympic gold medals placed around their necks. That was the best moment, because you knew every person standing there had somehow helped the person next to them and the person next to them. And we all played very different roles on that hockey team. We had some players that played 30 minutes of the gold medal game, some players that played 4 minutes of that gold medal hockey game. But we knew each person was equally important in terms of reaching that moment of success that we shared with our country. So here's a few images I thought I would share from that journey. And Barry, if we could just, oh yeah, perfect. We got them all ready to go. So finding your sources of motivation. So I was not a speed skater, but this is my mom, and she had been in that sport. And so if I think about this community, the Foxes program, to think about how many people you can be motivated by, former players that are now coaches in the association. A night like this to recognize 25 years of dedication to this program. So for me, I think it's constantly finding those sources on what's going to drive you and motivate you to be your very best on a consistent basis. And I always looked up to my mom, and she had competed for Canada, and I wanted in some capacity to follow in her footsteps. And so this is a photo that the lighting is a little bit dark, and I just have sneakers on. But there was one time I was traveling with the International Ice Hockey Federation, and I went on, and it was one of these speed skating ovals that my mom had skated on. And even though I was just in my sneakers, the idea for me that if I could somehow follow in her footsteps and represent the country. So this is my brother and I growing up in Winnipeg. We have our Jets jerseys on. And my brother Jason taught me a really important lesson. And I think it's wonderful tonight where we recognize so many people that are instrumental for this program, this incredible tournament. And my brother always taught me, and you think about the comments that we've heard from everyone that's been such a big part of this program, and they're trying to deflect it, that it's not about them, it's about other people. And my brother Jason, he taught me about not always needing that external reinforcement. I know someone asked me after my 4th Olympics, and they said, Jen, he said, what was your favorite career goal that you scored? And I remember thinking about it pretty quickly, and I thought, you know what? It wasn't a goal that I scored, but it was an assist, and it was a pass that I made to my teammate. And my favorite play was in the Vancouver Olympics. It was my final Olympic Games as an athlete, and my line mate happened to be Marie-Philippe Poulin that year. And I remember getting across, I had the puck in the neutral zone, I came across the blue line, and I remember looking up and I saw Marie-Philippe Poulin in the slot area. And so I just continued to carry the puck to look for the seam, and I found her in the slot. And so I passed her the puck. She had this unbelievable shot. It was a beautiful shot, top shelf, goes in the net. And so we're celebrating, and we end up winning the game 2-0. And for the next several weeks, the days afterwards, all of the headlines and all of the coverage was Marie-Philippe Poulin. And she deserved it. It was so great to see her getting all of that recognition. But I thought for me as a person, as a teammate, as an athlete, it was just as fulfilling or perhaps even more rewarding to know that I had made the right decision in that moment to set up my teammate for that moment of success and that goal. And so it's always nice for all of the players here to get that external reinforcement or a pat in the back or a reminder of all the great things that you do. But hopefully at the end of every day, you know that you've made the right choices to be the best person, the best teammate, the best leader that you can possibly be. And I think in this environment, with this community, the incredible teams that you're on, you have that opportunity every single day. That was something that my brother had taught me about not needing that recognition every single day. The Olympics were amazing for us in terms of the energy, the expectation, but also for us to maintain our focus on what we wanted to accomplish. And so for all of you as student athletes, there are times that you're going to make different decisions than others that you go to school with. And be proud of that, to know that you're dedicated to your sport and to your academics, and take pride in being that leader along the way. So much excitement for us at the Olympic Games. Your support network, these are friends and family of mine from Winnipeg, Manitoba that were there at the Olympic Games. And the reason why I started playing girls hockey in the first place. And they had gone to see so many events at the Olympics. And I said, well, what was the best part for all of you? And they said, well, Jen, it was when you finally found us in the building. I think they were in the last row of the building, and it took me probably 5 or 10 minutes to find them after the gold medal game, but to celebrate with them, and a big part of my support network along the way. Here's an image from that last Olympic Games, playing against Team USA, and right before we went to the rink that day, we had a meeting before we left the village, and the Olympic Village, and our coaches told us that day, they said, you know, if we could tell you one thing before you go to the rink for this game, the gold medal game of the Olympics in Canada, if we could tell you one thing, it's not really that fancy, they said, but the one thing we would tell you is to trust yourselves. Trust your preparation, trust all of that hard work, trust your leadership and your coaches. And for all of us, we just kind of took a deep breath, and to know that we had the trust to be at our best in that moment. So for every player here to have that constant belief in yourself, even though there may be negativity or any self-doubt, for you to always remember the value that you bring. And when I think about the best teams that I was a part of, when I first made the team at 18, I was playing with France St. Louis, who was almost 40 years old. But for us to respect every single person on our roster, different personalities, it's the same For me today, in the broadcasting industry, I'm sharing the panel with people with different characters, different personalities, different opinions, but there's no question there's a mutual respect that allows us to elevate each other. Celebrating on the ice at various Olympic Games, that was the medal presentation that I talked about, that moment. And we always felt like in that Vancouver one, we went to watch the men's game a few days after our game had ended. It was the year that Crosby scored a classic storybook overtime winner. And the Olympic Committee said, as soon as Crosby scored that goal, as soon as the puck went in the net, they said they wished and they hoped that every single Canadian felt like they had an assist on that goal. And that's what made it. Everybody being a part of it. And what a special evening this is to recognize over the course of 25 years how everyone has been such an important part of creating this amazing environment for athletic and personal development for these young girls. Receiving the medals, the anthem playing for us was always a moment where it started to sink in for us. This is when I found my parents in the stands after we won in Vancouver, who were, as I've mentioned, were such an instrumental part of my journey. Celebrating your success. This is just a photo. We went back to the rink in Vancouver a few weeks after we won. But I hope that every person in this room, when I talk about feeling proud of yourselves, that's every single day, that hopefully you can look back and say, I know I've done my best. I've been focused and dedicated when I've been at school. When I go to the rink and I'm practicing or I'm training, I'm focused on being the best athlete that I can possibly be and celebrating those moments of success. When I was at Harvard University, very demanding. I had high aspirations to do well in my classes and academics. I wanted to be a leader as a captain of the Harvard hockey team. There were times I was leaving for Team Canada, but I would always take a little moment of appreciation, I would call it. Whether it was crossing a bridge to go to the rink, or whether it was in the locker room to put on a practice jersey or a game jersey, to say, you know what, this is a pretty special place to be. And hopefully all of you players feel that way when you put on your jerseys, to know that you're representing this program, this association, and you're a part of something really special. And so celebrating those little moments of success. And that's a question you can ask yourselves. How do you want to feel at the end of the day? How do you want to feel at the end of this hockey season? For parents, for coaches, how do you want to feel at the end of your career? What's the legacy that you continue to build as others have built before you? And that was a question, even for me, in moments that were difficult. There was one Olympic year, 2006, my third Olympics. I wanted to be one of the best players in the world. My goal was to be one of the top 2 or 3 players in the world. Halfway through that Olympic year, my feedback with the coaches, we sat down and they said, Jennifer, just so you're aware, you're on the bubble of making this team. That meant they weren't sure if I was going to make the Team Canada roster or not. Huge difference between my expectations for the season and feedback I'm getting from the coaches. But you know what the question was I asked myself? How do I want to feel at the end of this season? And for me, if I could somehow make that experience better for my teammates, that's what filled me up and made me happy and brought me joy. And from there, when I focused on that and elevating my teammates, then my individual performance came back. And it didn't happen with a snap of a finger, but over time, not only did I make a roster, but played and contributed in the way that I believed that I could. So celebrating those moments of success. I also was not a figure skater. However, has anyone heard of the show called Battle of the Blades? It's been a few years since the show aired, but I was a part of this reality show. So the concept of the show, so they invite hockey players to attempt the sport of figure skating. So they called me in the summer. I just had my third daughter. She was a year old. They said, Jen, great news. We would love to invite you to be part of the show. So I was pretty quiet on my end of the phone call. I had never worn a pair of figure skates in my entire life. And they said, okay, do you need a little time to think about it? So I said, yes, please. I'd love a little time to think about it. And then I thought, okay, I thought about the opportunity. We had the chance to raise money for charity, but I also thought my kids were a big inspiration. And I looked at my 3 girls and I thought, what's the message I can share with them? Is there an opportunity to learn something new, to grow, to perhaps do things differently than we've done them before, to be even better? And probably, despite the incredible adventure, my partner was Eric Radford, a very accomplished Olympic skater. One of the best parts of the whole experience was seeing the look on my girls' faces, because they came with me to the rink on day one when I put on figure skates for the first time. And I probably moved across the ice at about this pace on the first day. And they all were with me at the rink. And then within weeks, and over the course of the next couple of months, we were doing full routines to music on national television. We were doing overhead lifts and spins. And for my girls to see how much we can learn in a short time frame. And that's an opportunity that you have every single season, every month, every week, every time you go to school, every time you go to the rink. We have the chance to learn something new. And hopefully all of you continue to embrace that. So joining Hockey Night in Canada, thinking about doing things differently. When I joined Hockey Night in Canada several years ago, this was different for a lot of reasons. If anyone here has watched Hockey Night in Canada over the last several decades, this is a show that had been very male-dominated. They had never had a female presence on the show. So this was different for people that were on the show, the panelists, that had never had a female that was part of the discussion. This was different for the production, the direction, for everybody behind the scenes. And it most certainly was different for the millions of people that tuned into the show. But I think in this environment, it was respecting all of my panelists, but also understanding. I talked about that trust and the internal belief that you need to have. And so for me, respecting them, but also balancing that with a level of assertiveness and not going into a situation to just be satisfied. When I talked about the best players in the women's game and for them not being satisfied, Marie-Philippe Poulin, Sarah Fillier, Spooner, the names that I mentioned, in this environment, for me, I wasn't going into these shows and saying, well, I'm just happy that I have a seat at the table. It was not that level of satisfaction. It was saying, I'm here because I want to make the show better. I want to provide honest opinions and ask myself that question, how do I want to feel at the end of the show? So being respectful, but also being assertive in knowing that my voice was going to make a difference. And even though it's no secret, there are times that my opinions differ from the opinions that are shared from my male colleagues, but for me, understanding there may be growth in the game, and for me voicing those opinions and understanding, well, even though Kevin Bieksa and I may have some different opinions that we share in conversations, understanding there is the potential for growth and involvement in the game. And we've had a lot of fun as well in our conversations, but understanding the opportunities. I think that's one of the biggest things for all the athletes, the amazing life lessons that we learn in sport and how applicable that is for the rest of our lives. I do some work for a US network where I'm either at ice level or up in the broadcasting booth calling the game. And this is also different for a lot of people to have a female presence standing between the benches or up in the booth calling professional hockey. But for me, that same approach, to not be satisfied to just be there to do an outstanding job and to provide hopefully a lot of great value along the way. This is the network in the United States. And then I talked about the Stanley Cup final, covering that in Canada, and these great moments for us that we shared along the way. Celebrating success for some of the best athletes in the NHL, raising the Stanley Cup. They've had moments of adversity, but also finding that internal trust to reach that pinnacle. Celebrating those moments, being prepared. So this was one moment in the Stanley Cup final with Florida and Edmonton. And so Wayne Gretzky joined us. And I mean, one of the best players in the history of the game. But when he's on the panel with us, it's setting a record for millions of viewers in the country. But Wayne takes about 30 seconds to just draw this personal connection to each and every one of us. He talks about a charity event he'd been at with Kevin Bieksa. He played on the LA Kings with Kelly Rudy, talks about a story. And then for me, I'm going to say the first project that I ever did that was remotely connected to broadcasting was actually a sit-down interview with Wayne Gretzky at one of his golf tournaments. And so in front of millions of people, Wayne spends 10 seconds to share this story, but for him, being ready, being prepared for every moment to make those people that he was surrounded by feel valued, feel important, so they understand that. And in this team environment, in our sport, to know how important it is for every single person to recognize their role in the team, how valuable every person is. And I thought Wayne just did an amazing job of articulating that. The Olympics, this really went really quick. the relationships, because in this community, I can sense the importance of relationships. So my dad was inducted. It was the Manitoba Sports Hall of Fame a few years ago. And so he's worked with pro athletes, Olympic athletes. And I said, Dad, this is a weekend on reflecting on how many people you've influenced and impacted. What was the best part for you? And so my dad said, well, it was signing the Wall of Fame. So my mom had been inducted as a speed skater 15 years before my dad. And my dad signed this Wall of Fame. And he signed probably the smallest autograph I've ever seen anyone sign, just so he could sneak his name in right next to where my mom had signed the wall 15 years before him. And for him, that was the best part. The relationships that you're building, the friendships that you're building. When I was your age, I am still friends with all of the girls that I played hockey with at your age. And I just got inducted a few months ago to Hockey Hall of Fame. Guess who were the majority of my friends that attended that Hockey Hall of Fame event? Most of them were the ones that I grew up with in my teenage years playing my youth hockey in Winnipeg that were there to share in that moment. My husband and I are three girls trying to be as present as we possibly can for them. They do play hockey, but other sports as well, but thinking that ideal. So I just want to allow a little time for questions. I'm going to show really quickly the show and tell of the Olympic medals. I know some of the athletes had the chance to see them earlier. Really quickly, the silver doesn't get very much love, but this was the silver medal. But we use that as motivation for wanting to be better the next year. So the next year, it was Salt Lake City. This is the year I mentioned where this was the year we turned challenges into opportunities. And this was the first time that our women's national team won an Olympic gold medal. And I showed some of you earlier, but the motto that year was light the fire within. And it's engraved right on the front of the medal. And that's something when I talk about the opportunity that every one of you has every single day to not just go through the motions, right? But to be there and to do your very best in every environment. So the next year, for us, it wasn't being satisfied with bringing home one gold. For us, it was how do we reach the next level of excellence? And so this year, was about pushing ourselves and doing more than we had in terms of raising the level of the game, playing at a higher pace, improving our skill set more than we ever had. And this is the one that we won in Torino in 2006. And a really beautiful story from the Vancouver Olympics. And some of you were admiring this medal. And so they gave us this really beautiful carrying case. And inside the case was a beautiful scarf. And so it has the design of the medals. So they were designed by an Indigenous artist. And on this scarf, so all of the medals that were awarded at the Vancouver Olympics were all unique. And so some of you saw the pattern on this front of the medal. And so every medal that was awarded was different, and they all fit together like pieces of a puzzle on how important every single person is. And so, finally, I will tell you, because today's been very inspirational to hear the stories. And when I went back to my hometown of Winnipeg, after my 4th Olympics, it was a celebration event, and I was just about to leave. I was on my way out the door, and I had a little tap on my shoulder, so I turned around, and there was a nice woman there. She told me she's a mother, and she had a 6-year-old daughter at the time that watched our gold medal game. She's grown up now, but she was a 6-year-old at the time. And she said they watched the gold medal game on television. She said at the end of the game, she said they stood up in their living room. She said they had tears in their eyes as they sang the anthem with us. And I told her, well, thank you. You know, that's what makes it so special for us. But she kept going with her story. And she said the day after they watched the gold medal game at the Olympics, they went to the outdoor rink. And Winnipeg also has refreshing winters, so many outdoor rinks in Winnipeg. And I guess after watching the gold medal game, this 6-year-old girl put on all of her hockey gear and she tied up her skates. And she went on the outdoor rink the day after watching the game and she hits the outdoor ice. And as soon as she gets on the ice, she just starts throwing her gloves and her stick up in the air repeatedly. And her mom is laughing and her mom asks her, you know, what are you doing? 6-year-old girl, she looks up at her mom and she says, well, Mom, she said, I'm just practicing. She said, I'm just practicing my celebration, is what she told her mom that day. But it was a reminder, right, that many of us are surrounded by people in some capacity. So our choices, our actions, our behaviors, there's always that chance to help yourself, but there was also always that opportunity to help and to impact the people around you in a really great way. So it's been an honor to share the day with you. I think we have a few minutes if anyone had any comments they'd like to make or questions they would like to pose. But thank you for including me in this day of celebration. And again, congratulations to all of the teams and the athletes. It's been an honor to be here. Thank you so much. Thank you. Do we have time for comments or questions? Does anyone have a question that they might like to pose or a comment that you'd like to share? Yes, please.
Shannon Miller.
Yes.
Daniel Savageau.
Yes.
Melody Davidson.
Yes.
Three very intense coaches.
Yes.
What recommendations do you have for the audience listening to your coaches?
Well, you know what I think about coach? I think it ties into coaches and leadership. I think very intense coaches, but also different personalities. And I think learning to adapt in different environments. You know, I think both as players and coaches, leadership groups, I think for all of them, one of the strengths they had was understanding we were all working towards a common goal and a common vision, but also recognizing and understanding you have a group of athletes with different strengths and different characteristics. And I think each of those coaches, as intense as they were, as focused as they were, took the time to recognize what every individual needed as well. And so I think that was a big part of it. And as a player, I think that's what I learned too, from my first Olympics to my fourth, is to understand how I could be a leader and learning from my coaches and other leaders on the team. I think that's a big part of it, to say, they took the time to recognize that and also to, I think, instill that level of confidence in people and finding a way to bring all those different personalities together, because they had such plans and very structured on and different paths that they took in terms of our Olympic years and how they structured them in terms of preparation. But I think underneath that intensity was each of them was so caring and wanted to do well, but they took the time to understand what each athlete within that program needed while we were working and striving towards the common goal. Does that make sense? But I mean, all different, but I think that's the same thing. If I think about some of the perhaps most recognizable leaders we've had on the team as players, whether it's Cassie Campbell-Pascal and Paley Wickenheiser, who both I played with for many years, very different leaders, but we were able to thrive under both of them in different ways. Cassie more vocal in the locker room, that brought everybody in, but Wick's just determination and her work ethic was just so contagious that you wanted to have the same dedication as she did. So I think it's the same for different coaches, different athletes, but important to learn and adapt under those environments. But I will say, one other thing that comes to mind when we talk about the coaches, someone asked me, it wasn't long ago, they said, Jen, would you have done anything differently in your career? And I thought, I always tried to take that approach that I spoke about earlier of having no regrets, of not looking back and saying, I wish I would have done something, right, to make a national team. And so I didn't want to have any regrets. But one thing came to mind, and it was actually a reflection on both my playing career and my career in broadcasting. And I said, maybe the one thing, I would have relied less on other people's confidence in me, right? It was always nice to have coaches or people from the outside reminding you of all the great things that you bring. And I think even in broadcasting, as you know, there are plenty of social platforms where everyone can comment on their opinion of me being involved in the show or thoughts that I'm sharing on the show. I think for me, even over the last several years, learning to not let any negative comments consume me and finding, I talked about that self-belief and the value. I think as a player, that took some time for me over the course of 4 Olympic years as well, to have that consistency of that belief and not rely on other people to remind you of how great you are and how super every athlete is. Thank you for the good question. Is there another comment or question? I'm seeing if I'm not sure I'm finding it. Over here, yes, thank you. Hi, how are you? Good, thank you. So you know what, funny, I started hockey when I was a little bit older. I had been a ringette player when I first grew up because we talked about the evolution of girls hockey. So I had an older brother, Jason, that played, but there were no girls teams at the time in Winnipeg. And so I had played ringette. And then I switched over to started playing hockey when I was 12. So I'd been skating from a young age, but started playing hockey at the age of 12. And I played both for a few years. I played both ring-outed hockey. And then I first made the Olympic team at 18. And then I played over the course of 12 years with Team Canada. And with teams, I played in Calgary for a few years. Also played in Toronto when I was done university in Boston. But it was 12 years that I played with Team Canada. So I had the chance to go to 4 Olympic Games and a number of different world championships. And had the chance to travel and have friendships that are going to last a lifetime. And I think the best part for me, I've always said, was to have great teammates, both in youth hockey, my university hockey, my national team teammates. And certainly, as I said, as I reflected this past year at the Hockey Hall of Fame, I had people from all of those different teams that were a part of the weekend of reflection for me. Great question. Thank you. Yes. Yes. So when I grew up in Winnipeg, Manitoba, were my first teams. So my first team I played on was the Storm in Winnipeg. We had these beautiful teal jerseys. We were just chatting about the first tournaments that we went to, our away tournaments that we played on. And it was friends of mine that were playing hockey that suggested I try the sport. And because friends of mine were playing, that's why I tried it out and I fell in love with it. And so from there, I played on the U18 Storm team, ended up playing on a senior team. And then I moved to Calgary, and they had a high-performance training program there. And that was the year before the Olympic team. So I actually moved there for my grade 12 year of high school because I really wanted to focus on improving. And I loved Winnipeg, but I felt like this was an environment where I could go and be around some of the great players that were playing international hockey. But I will say one other quick story. When I talk about being resilient and navigating those challenges, my goal that year, when I moved to Calgary for grade 12, I wanted to make the national under-18 team for Canada. And this was one season before the Olympic team. And that year, I wasn't named to the under-18 team. So I was not seen as one of the best U18 players in the country. And it would have been easy for me to be hugely disappointed. But for me, it wasn't a moment to give up on my dream. It was quite the opposite, that I said, well, I have a lot of work to do in one season if I want to try to make a senior national team one season later. And so one season later, I did put in the hard work, the dedication was a part of it, and made huge strides. And so one thing for athletes too, I think delay doesn't mean denial. Sometimes it takes a little longer to reach your performance or where you want to be, but constantly having that belief. So side story on that. And then I played at Harvard University, where I had the chance to go to university and play university hockey. And from there, I said there was a training program in Calgary. Then I played on a team in Toronto before the PWHL existed, and then with Team Canada. So those were the teams that I was a part of. But I loved every single one of them, and they were a big part. And I had the chance to cover my first PWHL game up in the booth a couple of years ago. And I got emotional when the anthem was playing, because as athletes, this is what we wished for and hoped for, and to see these athletes living it out was such a moment of satisfaction. And some people say, well, do you wish you were still playing? Well, I don't know. I think just that the athletes, this would have been nice to have, but this is just what we wanted to see happen. And I think all of the athletes today that play in the PWHL deserve credit, because they weren't going to settle on something. They wanted to make sure that it was in place for generations to come. And they were patient and made sure they established this, and they're continuing to expand. Super exciting. Really, I take my 3 daughters. We have the chance to go to some of the PWHL games in Toronto. It's really magical. It's a beautiful environment. So great question. Long-winded answer to all my teams, but they were also special for me. Yes, great question. The reason I wanted to play hockey, so I had seen hockey, I'd been around hockey, but I'd never played on a team. And it was some of my friends at school and in my neighborhood that had heard about this girls' hockey team. And they said, well, Jen, should we try to play together? And I said, absolutely. That would be fun. I'd love to spend some more time with my friends. And I quickly fell in love with the game. Yes. Oh, you know what? I'll tell you what I tell my daughters, 25 forever. Yes. That's a great question. I don't know my exact stats. I I was able to contribute offensively with points and goals and assists, but I will tell you, honestly, don't know my numbers, that I loved finding a way to contribute, and I think I did so over a number of years. But I will say something too, for me, I don't think that was ever the focus. And I think I've always been a person, I tell my daughters the same thing in games, in terms of maybe it's something that you say on the bench to your teammate, or whether it's a great back check or a great save or a great defensive play that leads to a goal, whether it's seconds or minutes later. I think those personalities and those moments are just as important as any points and goals that you can get on the ice as well. But great question, thank you. Yes, yes. Go ahead, yes, please. Yes. So I played mostly center. When I first made the national team, my first Olympic year, I played more left wing, at times right wing, but mostly center throughout my career. Yes, yes. My favorite team that I played on? That's a tough question. Oh, that's really hard. It's hard to pick, honestly, because I think, the team that I played on when it was U13. We went for our first away tournament. We went to Minneapolis. I was just talking about a dinner, how much fun I have. I still have photos up from that tournament. Harvard University was very special for me, going to university, having the chance to play hockey. But then probably the two Olympic teams, the first time we win Olympic gold was right up there. But if I had to pick one team, if I just had to, it would most likely be the one that was in Vancouver for the Olympics in our home country. I think that one was perhaps the most fulfilling and exciting for us to share it with everybody in the country. Amazing questions. Yes. Also a great question. So some of my teammates laugh and say, well, how can you pick a favorite Olympic medal? Because they are all so special in terms of what we went through to get them. But I think for a few reasons, it's the Vancouver one. I think because we thought the Olympics would be pretty special in our home country, but it was well beyond what we could have imagined or dreamed of. And I think the story and the meaning behind the medals too, to reflect how important every single person is, was really special. One quick story on Vancouver. Our goaltenders. We had 3 goaltenders: Kim St. Pierre, Shannon Zabados, and Charlene Labonte. Charlene Labonte was told she would not be playing in those Olympic Games. She was there in case of injury. It was our last round robin game, and Kim St. Pierre was playing. Kim St. Pierre is now a Hockey Hall of Famer. She had an idea that Zabados might play in the gold medal game, in the medal rounds. But it was the last round robin game. Kim left the locker room, didn't say anything. Coaches come in the locker room, they look at Charlene Labonte, and they say, Labonte, get your gear on. You're going to play in the 3rd period of this last round robin game. There was no time for discussion, conversation. Charlie puts on all her gear, gets ready, plays the rest of the 3rd period. And it wasn't until weeks after the Olympics were done that we learned that it was Kim St. Pierre who left the locker room. She went and asked the coaches if she could take herself out of the game. It ended up being the last game that she played with Team Canada because Zabados played in the medal rounds. She went and asked if she could take herself out so that Charlene Labonte could put on an Olympic jersey and hit the ice and play on home soil in the Olympic Games. And that was a decision that our teammate made for Labonte and our teammate. So I think Vancouver, because of moments like that. Great, great question. Yes?
Do you know who striker Suwaki is?
Yes, I do. Yes, she's played for the national team, right? She's playing now down in the United States, right? So exciting. An amazing story, right? Really, really great to see her doing so well. Yes. Yes, all 3 of my girls. So they're 6, 8, and 10, and they all play hockey. Their 3 favorite sports are probably hockey and soccer and lacrosse. But they love it. They love going to the rink early. That's the biggest question, is to get there nice and early and to be around all their friends. Yes. 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 So Maya is my oldest. She's 10. Brooklyn is 8. And Willow is 6. Thank you for the nice personal questions. How are we doing? Do you want me to keep? The girls are asking so many great questions. How are we doing? One. Oh, there's so many. You get to pick then, because you can pick then. Yes, go ahead. Yes. Amazing. So 2 things encouraged me to try figure skating, even though I don't know if anyone here has worn figure skates, but that is a giant toe pick on the front of the blades that is a little bit scary. We had the chance to raise money for charity, was the one thing, so I wanted to try to help other people. And the second thing that I wanted to teach my daughters, that we can constantly learn and constantly grow and evolve. And so those were a few reasons, and I loved it. I had a blast. I actually wish I had done more figure skating because I felt like I became a better skater in those few months. It was an amazing adventure, and I had so much fun. Yes. Yes. Defense, when I was younger, I did play defense. I never played defense on Team Canada, but there are some athletes that have done both and have actually switched. Cassie Campbell-Pascal was a great example where she started on D in her first couple of tournaments with Team Canada, went on and played forward. So there are some that have done both. Do you want me to try to wrap up? But
I was going to say, if they have more questions, they're welcome to stay.
Why don't we do that? So I'll maybe be over by the banner if anyone has more questions they'd like to pose. Have a great time this weekend to all the athletes. It's been such a pleasure to see all of you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, quickly, my tournament ambassadors and committee, if you could stay for 5 minutes and meet us over by that banner, we have some things for you to take to your rink. And just to thank you to the visiting teams that attended as well tonight. I know you guys want to head out, but I hope you enjoyed. And Jennifer, if you could come back, because we have a little presentation for you.
So as everyone is leaving, I just want to thank everyone who made tonight possible. Taryn, Jennifer, everyone, the organizers, volunteers, families, and especially the Foxes for their heart and sportsmanship you've shown. We're grateful for this time together, and we wish the Foxes the very best as they head into their tournament this weekend. Travel safe, play hard, and remember to enjoy every moment. Thanks, everyone.